It's that time again. Morning, everybody. How you all doing? It is Saturday, the 11th of July. We come to you once again um, on time. I think I was a little bit off, but it tends to be that way. I'm trying to get gracious. Sorry, I'm trying to.
Brother.
Yeah, was that me?
Huh?
I'm trying to make sure. What the hell? Is that me? Hold on, y'all.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Let me get this together. There it is. I got it. I'm sorry, y'all. I was messing around with something and something else popped up. I apologize for confusion there. Again, morning, everybody. How you all doing? It is Saturday, the 11th of July, and we are coming to you live. That's how shit happens when it's live. You see the new cut? You see the new cut? I went back to it, Thomas Berry. I was like, let me see what's going on with your boy. Let me see them lines, boy. See them lines, boy.
See, I
That's
see,
homemade right there, boy.
I
See
see, I
that lines, boy. That homemade right
see, I see, I see.
there.
That's what you.
Feeling much better from the surgery. Every day is better. Still getting the headache, so it's the pain is still there, but every day gets a little bit better. And again, after the surgery, I really wasn't shaving and stuff like that. I was real scruffy, roughy. So I was like, let me do a little something a little different about cop the hat back, put that on. Uh, Definitely wanted to celebrate Father's Day in all its glory with you and with Rodney. So we threw the jerseys, but I had to get back to the college shirt and the whole nine. So there it is. There it was. This week we're going to talk about Nolan Wells. We'll speak on the white supremacists that were all up in around DC on the 4th of July. We'll talk about Big Tigger and his wife, that whole situation, which continues to be a developing story and wild. Through this, um, very public, I'll make it. I found out on Monday my uncle's dying and he's going to hospice. It's one of those things where we thought that surgery would help him. It wasn't able to happen, and that's okay. He's lived a hell of a life, and he's been a warrior his entire life. So he and I spoke not too long ago. We said our words. I'm okay. I'm going to miss him whenever he does finally transition, but I'm okay. You know, I've shedded some tears. I'll shed some more, especially after he really does pass away without a doubt.
Yeah.
But none of us get out of this thing alive. None of us do. None of us do. The unfortunate is, and we try to tell you all this all the time, man, y'all got to handle your business, man. Make sure you have some type of insurance. Make sure you have some type of plan for when you do transition and leave this place, man. Don't leave folks grieving and more in debt. You know what I'm saying? Like that ain't cool. That is just not cool. And if it's just enough coin to put you away, then so be it. You know what I'm saying? Your death should not be looked at upon as a come up for nobody. You know what I mean? But don't leave folks grieving and in debt when you transition from this spot. He's just one of those cats. He did not handle his business. So I need to be very frugal to be prepared for when he does transition. Uh,
Yeah.
but that's it, man. It was a good week for the most part. Outside of that, obviously, that was a huge cloud over the beginning of the week. Then making all those phone calls and letting people know what's going on, not knowing who was contacted, who wasn't contacted, but didn't want to take anybody for granted. So I reached out to folks right, left, and right to let them know what's happening. Because the last thing I want to do, regardless of how I feel about it, is not give someone an opportunity to feel however they need to feel about it. That ain't right.
That's right.
So definitely needed to do that. And again, this is about handling your business. This is about letting folks know your plan, letting folks know how to get in contact with your folks so that no one is left to feel a certain kind of way. People act real strange, man, when it comes to that end of life stuff. They act real strange. And uh, it's okay. That they are allowed to feel, think, and to go through those emotions, whatever those emotions are. My job at this point is just to support those whom are out there loving him, preparing to miss him, so on and so forth. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
my nephew, I called my nephew first, and then I called the boys. Um, Nephew was first because nephew's been getting hit right, left, and right on the other side of his family with loss. So I needed to definitely get to him sooner rather than later. And I didn't want anybody to get to him with some bullshit. So I wanted to come to him with the real shit. So he knew what was going on. Then again, called the boys after and let them know what was happening. And then there were some other folks in my life that I needed to call because they had relationships and stuff. I had a ex fiance. I have. She ain't dead. I have an ex fiance whom actually saved his life. So some years ago, I was like, "You definitely need to know." You know what I'm saying? And that's just how that goes. But yeah, man, just handle your scandal when it comes to stuff like that. Now, somebody asked me the other day. I think it was Rodney. I think I was talking shit with Rodney, and Rodney was like, I'm sorry, Rashi. Let me add you up. I apologize." Um, Ronnie asked me something, and I was like, Ronnie, I'm piss poor with managing money, but I'm very good on paying my damn life insurance. So you know what I'm saying? Like, I might not, bro, but them kids gonna be okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? Look, dog, this lifestyle ain't cheap. It is not cheap. Not cheap at all. Me jet setting to here, there, and here, man, that shit adds up. If I really sat back and thought about it, and the amount of money that I spend on travel and travel expenses, preparing, all that little crap, I spend a lot of money. But I do that because it's my only tax write off, to be honest with you. So either I'm giving it all Sam or I'm spending it and I'm enjoying myself. So that's how that evens out and what have you. But yeah, yeah. So that's been my week in review for the most part. TB, you were up first. What you got going on, partner? I see you getting some checks out here. I see you getting some checks.
Nah, man, the checks that's just again that goes right back into the platform. Um, People don't really understand. It's kind of funny, man, because when I talk to people about the app, they see money that I don't have yet. Uh, and I'm like, that's not how it goes.
Right.
But much appreciation to the Minnesota Black Business Chamber, Sister Yolanda Pearson, who is the current president. But I could not be my homegirl, Candace, RIP, Candace Ellis. She was the former president. And so to know the last two presidents, and I think Yolanda was going to take it to a great place, passionate, her and her husband, Waylon. They are definitely, a great couple to
Her and her
model.
who?
Her husband, Waylon.
Her what again?
Her husband, Waylon.
Husband,
Yeah.
team, effort,
Yeah.
moving things forward. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yep. And Waylon is he's a successful businessman. He has a trucking company. He's doing pretty good for himself, and she's a
That's
part
what's
of
up.
that team, which makes her great for the Minnesota Business Black Chamber of Commerce. But salute to them. But that was, hey, listen, man, that check was cool, man. But shit, that morning I was looking at $100 million problem for people who are going to be without home within the next week, and they're living in conditions where you can smell the sewage. I
Yeah, I
was so,
saw those pictures.
man, brother. I went into the last house. It was so, I had to put my guard up when the smell hit my face. That's how it was that bad, and you could taste it. And then we go upstairs, and there's 8 dead birds throughout the upstairs. And these are units that were supposed to replace our projects. And they look worse than the projects inside and out. And so for me, I'm always just reminded that food, clothes, and shelter is important. Forget all that psychological babble that we get caught up into, that these white sociologists and psychologists have put in our face. If you don't got food, clothes, and shelter, if you ain't got shelter in this country, you're almost rendered as nothing. And to see people who are living in those conditions that should not be living in those conditions, when we have a conglomerate developer who has neglected these homes after getting $225 million of taxpayer dollars and continue to rake in money, was just heartbreaking. I mean, bro, we went into some homes people are living in. Fam, when I say you could just see the mold, you could see the hole inside of the laundry room, and the ceiling's about to cave in the laundry room, to go into the bathroom and see that the tub is pulling away from the foundation and the mold all throughout that, and to just see people living with that. And you know, yeah, it should be considered basic necessities, but we don't think about it in basic necessities. As a matter of fact, when I see us talk on social media, this is what we're talking about: relationships, Beyonce, Jay-Z, relationships, LeBron James versus Michael Jordan, relationships, I hate my mama, I hate my daddy, relationships, the church is bad, but we don't. When do we get to food, clothes, and shelter? We skip over. Oh, no, no, my bad. My apologies. We do. You need to go get your gym membership because your homeboy is the trainer now. So now we want to talk about protein and things of that nature, and people who are obese. Anytime we're just trying to sell something, that's when we talk about food, clothes, or shelter. The realtor who's trying to sell you a home, then we can talk about it. What about the people who can't afford to buy a home? They should still have a place to stay. And it's just nasty work. It's just nasty work because when you sit back and you watch this conversation, bro, I've never lived in the projects. I know people who drive past it, work over there. They ain't got they don't got 5 words to say about the situation, and it's their community. Excuse me. I know people who
Question.
are prominent in the community who own homes out on the outer shell that will, when they have to tear these things down, the rats got to go somewhere, family. Y'all ain't saying nothing. Brother that's on the news every night ain't said a word. Combat veteran ain't said a word. You got to say something. The idea that we're just constantly waiting on white folks to give us permission to say anything is just, it's crazy. And I'm not knocking anybody because I spent plenty enough time in the projects. I spent plenty enough time in the projects, but I'm saying those specific projects I've never lived in. I used to have homeboys that used to be up in there all the time that lived up in there. I used to be over there with them. And I'm saying people have to start speaking up. You can't just depend on the NAACP. I hear y'all flapping y'all mouths. We're a volunteer group. National gets paid. Local don't get paid shit. Anything that I do is pro bono with my time. I don't get paid a quarter to do what I do. But there's other organizations that are getting paid. Y'all, it's hard to get y'all to pay $30 a year for dues. $30. But we're always in the club. But you know what I get, Brother Lee? Anytime somebody got an issue with the law, anytime somebody got an issue with child protection service or their landlord, guess who they call? The NA.
NAACP.
And then when they don't get their way, they're like, well, y'all can't. Well, how do we have the money to deal with all of your problems when nobody is a member? You're not a member. Similar to the church that we complain about so much, where nobody is the member, but when your rent is late or you can't, the church is supposed to kick in, but you don't pay tithes into that church. You don't like that pastor, but when your light bill need to come through, the pastor need to pray to Jesus and then come up with a check for you. But you talking bad about him any other time. Do you go to the weed man and ask the weed man to pay your light bill? Can you go to the liquor store and ask the liquor store to make sure they put it on your medical bill? You
Don't
can't.
talk about Rashi now. Don't talk about Rashi.
Oh no, this ain't no shots at Rashi. Rashi's a school teacher.
And
Rashi's
liquor store. That liquor store hit her hard, boy. That liquor store hit her
Oh,
hard.
Well, I mean, and here's the deal. I have gone. Not me. No, let me say this better. There have been times when the hood was doing something, the barbecue for the kids, the back to school rally, the don't let somebody, don't let man get shot. You know, when man gets shot and it's fritz fry time, um, we go to those people. We do go. In fact, and back in the day, and that is back in the day. I can keep it current and keep it straight. But back in the day, the weed man, the dope man did pay for funerals. He did help you. He did. In order for him to keep his prowess, to keep his clientele, because it was dope was everywhere. But it was the particular dope man that you could go to when if something happened to your grandma. And he loved Miss Johnson. He would do anything because Miss Johnson used to watch him when he was a little boy. You understand? It's those ties. Yes, he's tearing her fucking community down with that dope. But the point was, Brother Barry, that yes, I can go to my local liquor store. Now, the damage being done is worse than any help they would ever give. Let me start off the flip. Let's not be cute. The damage done by pervasive alcoholism within a community cannot be reversed with free hot dog buns and 6 cases of soda and all that. And the damage of the dope man cannot be fixed by them two little girls that he didn't put on their little college fees. He called himself, what he say? I pay for semesters, is what they say now. I don't buy motherfucking trips and furs. I buy semesters. So that you used to could go, but crack killed that. Crack, when the greediness of the crack dealer, you couldn't come to him really. In fact, he would kick his clients in the face. But the old dude, the old dealer, and I guess some of that was early crack, right? But when the babies put the crack pack in their pocket, they didn't have it for the community. I couldn't go to any of those younger dealers and say, we need to do this. They just didn't hear it. They didn't hear that. There was no collective behavior other than standing next to each other in order to get profit. So no, Thomas Berry, you can't really ask them for nothing no more, not for the community uh, that they tear apart. You can't, and no, they do not live there. They get their ill-gotten gains out of that community. The liquor store, man, everybody praying on the community prays. They get they shit, and then they bounce. You know what I'm saying? Then they bounce, and so no, we cannot ask them and so, no, it does not make sense to keep asking people who are not in the community, which is what I think is the deal with the NAACP. I don't think it's a membership issue.
I'm
I,
in.
per-
You can't.
I,
You can't say that when I'm in the community.
you not,
Wait.
you just admitted you
No,
ain't
no,
in
no,
there
no,
with
no,
them.
no, 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 no. You're not listening. I like listen to what I'm saying. I just walked through that community. I said I've never lived over there. That does not mean I'm not in the community. That's a difference. I think sometimes we just like the NAACP here, we get calls to go everywhere from here all the way up to St. Cloud. And we're right there in the midst of everything. You know how many families I get called for steal for child protection services situations in the midst of all of this? And I'm talking about hours that would, if I had to charge you, I could charge like $70 an hour for what I'm doing. And this is pro bono. We got to stop making excuses. And the difference between the drug dealer of you're talking about that helped and the younger ones is, for one, Miss Johnson prayed for that drug dealer. And she also went to church with him. They know her as Sister Johnson or Elder Johnson. It's a lot different when you don't go to church. Who stopped their kids from going to church? The same people that's talking about what? See, we talk about the community a lot, but we ain't talking about ways that we've been divisive to pull ourselves away from the community. Once we start wrapping ourselves with kufis on and everything else, we don't want to be a part of the community, but we still want to critique the community. We want to say that we're part of the Western African community. You want to eat jollof and you want to eat cassava leaves, but greens are bad. Don't you damn near talk about no soul food. But then you're saying you're a part of the community. You're not. We come up with these ethnic names. That's great. We do ethnic dances. That's great. But do you really deal with the people who are the downtrodden? Most of those folks don't. I'm from that. I come from that. I
I'm
stay in that.
I'm glad you got
No,
to
no,
see it
no, no, no,
again,
no, no, no.
because it's real. It is actually
And the
the
most of
current argument we having with
yeah,
this nation is we don't have a safe place to live, no matter who you
but,
know.
but I don't. But see, I don't want to. Let's not turn it, because when people are there doing the work, it's a lot different. And what I'm saying to you is, most of the NAACP that is around the country are volunteers. Only the national gets paid. And that's one of the things that folks don't understand. It's not a cult group, it's a $30 membership, and we still help people who are not members. Again, we're willing to help, just like the church is willing to help. I know during COVID, it was people that folks were talking about black male patriarchy, but those older black pastors were the one passing out food when people didn't have no food. They were passing out toiletry when nobody wasn't. And they were the group that was at most at risk to die from COVID. And nobody says any of those things when we say those pieces about our community. Again, we find ways to tear apart our community. And I'm just saying, look, my whole 10 cents on this situation with Heritage Homes is people should not have to live in those conditions. Period. Everybody drive past that particular. It's right there on one of the busiest highways, Lee. Two of the busiest highways in Minneapolis. Everybody ride past it. The boarded up shit, you can see it from eye view. The holes in the roof, you can see it from eye view. The stench, there's a brother that's on a breathing machine that's 75 years old. He has cancer, and you can smell the stench throughout his entire unit. But for him, it's better to be in that stench than the rat infested place that they had him in, that they were overcharging him for previously with him and his wife. And again, in this community, I can't speak for every other community. People don't seem to care unless they got an RFP attached to it. If you can't get no grant for your nonprofit, folks will not say a goddamn thing about nothing around here. That's how detached people are. And yeah, they're right in the middle of the hood. You know, all the 501c3s are in Minneapolis, North Minneapolis. It's over 485 of them right over there. It's a bunch of money that's coming over there. And guess what? It looks like stir fry shit over there. How do you have that much money? How do you have that many nonprofits in the middle of the hood where all of these people are supposed to live, that they love to live, but it still look like stir fry shit? But everybody got vacation photos. Hey, the vacation photos are nice. I'm telling you, the resorts are lovely, by the way. The resorts do look lovely, Lee. I know that we're investing heavily inside the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos. You just name the resorts. You can find a Minneapolis person who's been there lovely. And I'll end on this. The grifting from George Floyd, I'm glad is over. Because what you've learned is people's emotions are only in it unless they can get paid. If they can't get paid for admitting that emotions, they just don't care. And this is a situation where people just don't give two flying figs because they ain't figured out how to make some money off of it. Once they can figure out how to turn a check, they're going to care.
Will
Then they're
you
going to start talking about the
will you
kid.
give a little bit more to that? When you said the grifting of George Floyd's death, can you expound on that a little bit?
Simply, yes. Every time black men get killed in this country, the tears, the fake tears of people who really hate heterosexual black men who get out there and march because they go write a grant on the backside of it. Yeah, those people, the folks who say Black Lives Matter, but they ain't doing shit to procreate black life. Them people, that's grifting because you don't really care at the end of the day. And you definitely don't care when you're taking money from a group of folks that's dying and you're not trying to necessarily give that money back to prevent that from happening. That's grifting. So it's a hell of a grift. And people made a lot of money off of it and still eating off of it. These people were talking about trauma and mental health. Man, you know, all these homeless people that's out here, those are mental health issues. We talked about trauma for so long. Where are the mental health facilities? Where are they? You can't do that because the grifters got a program. They don't have a brick and mortar. They got a program for you. You know what, somebody that's homeless, that's sleeping on the street, they don't want to hear about your fucking program. They don't want to hear about your program. And that's just a part of the grift. And let me say this, the grift is not just something because people came up with the idea. Is what capitalism has shown us how to do, how to fake care, figure out a way to manipulate, make some money off something. And then once the money is dry, we no longer care. And I will say this about the NAACP one more time. It's hard to say people don't care when they're doing it for free. When you're showing up to handle somebody else's problem for free and their family members will not pick up the phone, their loved ones won't pick up the phone, you can't say those people are grifting. You can't say those people are using people or misusing people because they're showing up for free. So when you see Thomas Berry on the scene, I'm pretty much doing that shit for free. All the other organizations around the Twin Cities, I can't speak to them, but most of them are getting paid to be there. We don't get paid to be there. And that's just the truth. And that's just what it is. And so Marlon is right. Fake caring has become an epidemic. It has. And part of it is once you throw a bunch of money in the game and you give it to people who ain't never had it, then all they know how to do is become performative. But I know we got a lot of topics today, so I don't want to stick on that. I just had to say that because man, it was
Not
on my heart.
actually, it's a perfect segue into conditional living because let's talk about Nolan Wells. So the young man came up missing after a boat trip with friends on July 4th in Mississippi. They went over to Horn Island. There are photographs of them drinking. There was allegedly some audio of a verbal altercation, allegedly. The internet rumors run rampant and fast. The boys are telling the story that, because it was all boys, telling the story that he decided to stay on the island and was going to go back with some of his friends later, specifically a young lady. The young lady says, no, he got back in the boat with them. Regardless of what this young man has lost his life. He was out having a good time again with his alleged friends. Before, I shouldn't say alleged, I should say folks that he considered friends before his return to college and football camp. He was getting ready for the football season. He was going to a community college. I don't understand. That's not true. I do understand. It's a time for us, though, to have conversations with our children about their friends. One of the things that I told my kids is everyone you know is not your friend. You may have lived in the same neighborhood, lived in the same block, grew up around one another, but that doesn't mean that you're friends. Everyone should never come to your home. Everyone does not need to know where you live. And a lot of motherfuckers should never cross the threshold of your home. Even if they come to your house, that doesn't mean they have to cross the threshold of your home. I don't know what happened to this young man. I fear the worst. It's Mississippi. I don't need to say anymore. I know, Thomas, how you love Mississippi, but it's Mississippi. I don't need to say no more.
Oh, listen, I love it, but I ain't. Hey,
But you
listen.
respect it, right?
No, there ain't no respect. Shit, I'm black in America.
That's what I mean by you respect
Yeah.
it, though, right?
No, listen. This is the first time I've ever heard somebody call a black person a colored person. Was in Mississippi when I'm walking out of Cracker Barrel, all places, with my ex, and the white lady walks up to her and tell her, "You sure is pretty for a color girl." And she had to explain to her like, A, don't touch me, and B, don't you damn sure call me colored. Okay? Like, you gotta understand, I seen people working the chain gang in Mississippi. I seen people in them outfits from Life. That's not a movie costume, y'all.
Not
I
at
seen
all.
people working inside of yards with no security around, mowing these people's grass, tending to their gardens, and then walking themselves back to jail. And I said, oh, in the North, that could never happen. And I'm not trying to, this ain't no slight to the South, but I say that respectfully to say that all black kids, And I have to say this to my boys. My daughter's kind of on it. She ain't like, that's why she don't want to move back here. Too white for her. But I have to say that to my sons. No, she says it. She says all the time, like, yo, coming from Bowie, like, yo, it's hey, I come here. It's like once I get off the plane, I'm like, yo, who turned the lights on? Because it's white. She's in the airport in Baltimore, DC, and she's like, yo, I see all of us. I get here and I see none of us. And so she's like, yo, she don't want to move back this way. She'll come visit, but she ain't trying to move this way. I say that to say I've had an uncle who died that way, who didn't understand that. My brother lost his brother in 89. And so respectfully, I've had this conversation with my sons. I've applied that to myself. I'm never the only black person anywhere. I'm definitely not doing the sleepovers, the bonfires, etc. And part of that is because of the history of this country. Not saying that all white people will do it to you. I'm not saying that, but understanding being black in America, a black male in America, especially, we can go to jail just for being in the wrong place in the wrong time and looking the wrong. So for me, when I heard this story and then I heard the lies, I'll give y'all a good example. When I lived in Mississippi on the 4th of July, we're coming back from Richmond, Mississippi, heading back to Hattiesburg. On the highway, we see this horrible incident. This white boy, you can smell the liquor out of his truck. Him and his girlfriend had to be driving reckless. They hit a black nurse and ran her off the road. The sister died. She was dead inside of her Durango. When we were trying to get her door open and finally we pulled it open, her body fell out lifeless. I got my kids in the car. I got my ex, she's in the car. And she's the reason why we pulled over, because she was like, hey, I'm a nurse. I can't we just can't go past this. Let's get out. Do you know that you can smell the liquor in this car? But because that young man's family had money, who do you think they put the incident on? They put it on the black nurse who were dead.
Her?
They put it on her. You could not smell liquor in her car. There was nothing that could say that she was doing anything else, but you can see the bottle of alcohol in that car. And unfortunately, the white young man died as well as his girlfriend died. So everybody died from this incident on this highway. But that was my first, like, oh, this is the South. And if you got money, which his family apparently had money, they were able to fault that sister who ended up dying, who were dead. I'm sorry. She didn't die. She ended up dying. She was dead at the scene. They ended up faulting her for the incident, and clearly it wasn't her fault. And so when I saw this news, my heart dropped, because I'm like, man, this is 3 within 3 months. We got the situation in Carolina. We got the situation in Texas. Now we got this. And I'm like, our conversations about race in this country, we can't just keep ignoring that. And again, the necessities compared to what we spend our time talking about online, our kids are being hunted because we're not equipping them with that conversation of, and they said he was a good swimmer. Said he was a good swimmer. And so you see autopsy, the judge, the sheriff all automatically ruling right away, the fix is in. And if we wasn't so fixated on being disgruntled with each other, we would be able to, man, yeah, go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
So I'm gonna get the Rashi right after I make this quick point, because I didn't even think about it until we started talking about it. I want to understand from her what kind of conversations has she had with her son, but not only about the swimming portion, right? Because the the mysticism is around you black folks know how to swim, but in addition to that, the fact that they're talking about there was potentially a verbal altercation and they were drinking, they were intoxicated. So the fix is in even on that from those perspectives. Because again, if this was reversed, it wouldn't matter. Wouldn't matter. A white kid lost his life. Four black kids were there. All them mugs going down. So we're gonna see how this plays out. But Rashi, the question I have is: have you before this? Did you ever think, or did you ever have a conversation with your son specifically, but your children in general,
Mm.
about their friends and their friendliness?
I mean, of course, right? Of course, you have the talk. You can talk till you blue in the face, but you're not there. You're not there at the school when at the lunch. You're not in the cafeteria when the alliances form, and if you out, the rest of your education at that school is going to be full of shit because you didn't affiliate with the right people. And and if you just giggle instead of bring up how racist the joker was, then then you get invited to the island party. Now all this talk about intoxication, them motherfuckers stay high. Uh, a rich Southern youth frustrated with the fact that he think the world is his, but he can't even get off that watermelon patch he's standing on. Uh, they stay high. I ain't trying to be funny. If you look at that's where they go in and drive in and get all that dope out of. It's out of them rural, un managed farm places, them industrial buildings that get left, and then all of a sudden smoke is coming out the roof. That's what that is. And them babies get good and high, and they grades show it. That's why Mississippi is so low. Now, what can I do? I'm small pond important. You hear me? I ain't shit globally. But here in Beaufort, Mississippi, I'm somebody's son who had already did all the exploitation ahead of time. I really don't even have to be no asshole. I just get to reap the benefits of it. The problem is they want me to come in on it. I'm thinking in the mindset of a young white boy now. They want me to come in and they want me to make my move on how to build the family's wealth, right? But in general, I'm for real a fucktard. For real. Because the education that was even my private school education, my little parochial school education has stepped down. The Southern private school is damn near the Massachusetts regular ass charter school. Them nuns ain't down there pressing Billy Bob. They give him his motherfucking A and that he paid for and scoop him right on out of there. So he's finna make this decision, right? Him and his homeboys. Now one or two of them can read. So they actually have a plan. They gonna actually do something outside of whatever they family lined up for them. But most of these children are nepo babies with absolutely no plan for the future, and it hurts. But how do you make yourself feel better when you ain't about shit? How do you do it? If you ain't about shit, it's only one thing to do. You got to make somebody else feel like they ain't about shitter. And so, what if nothing else, like Toni Morrison said, you a short ass character getting taller by standing on somebody else. Okay, all right. So now I got me. It's Billy Bob. It's Nate Jr. It's Lil Carl. It's Earl. And then it's Tyler. And then it's Connor. It's Preston and Treston. And then now there's Nolan. We all there at the party, right? And for real, we don't appreciate, even though he don't have no whole bunch of choices, uh, for it to be the deep south, they missing a whole bunch of black girls. Black girls don't like them weird ass white dudes. All right. So at the party, he get he get alabaster white girls, and then he got the other upstanding white girls who can't bring him home. He know not to talk to her, right? But he didn't brought himself an alabaster. That's a white girl that's not prestigious. Her family ain't known for nothing. and he's in the corner and he clicking her up, and you know he clapped her out. And if anything, I want to say what they got mad is he went back there and cracked her. You understand? He took her to the back of the shed and made her understand why Billy Bob and them couldn't get none, because he had already hollered her out, right? Billy Bob and them mad. They see that he didn't win on, he came out grinning. He came out laughing about cracking the white girl. Understand? And so now we got this deep-seated, animosity. And he don't even know that ain't they white. That was his white girl. She came just for that. She told her daddy to get his card out so he can rent out the boat so that she could get to the party. Okay? And so now we at the party. The party is attended actually by park rangers. What they ain't saying is there was 4 of them on the island, a 10-mile island. So somewhere within the vicinity were adults. This was not an all children's party, y'all. There was adults there. So if something real wanted to go down, there were actual somebody could say, Dad, Dad, he's drowning, right? Somebody's dad would have went out there and figured it out, because everybody didn't leave the island. There were people still there. So if anything nefarious happened, somebody was still there to even help this poor soul that was an adult. And some of them were park rangers. They were actually getting paid to monitor the area. All right. So when we finish the Netflix series, this is, I'm going to say, about 6 episodes. This is at least 6 episodes of Fucked Up when we get the series. So I say we wait for old Benjamin Crump to do whatever he gonna do, and we'll see who's gonna get promoted or whatever for the fresh kill. Because I'm actually not a safe person to ask the question, Lee. All right. Let me take a breath so you don't think I'm insane. Because I hate when I say stuff that people don't hear in the moment, but I know I'm connecting dots. I personally believe that if you kill one of us, and you can prove that you did, and you go to like the Proud Boys, or they in there, all them white neo-nationalist groups. If
Mm-hmm.
you can prove that you have done mortal harm to one of us and either got away or got away with minimal time, or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
you rise in the neo-Nazi ranks with your ability to harm other races and not get in trouble for it and not get detected for it and stuff like that. So I personally believe, because we talking about him, right? But like you say, Thomas Berry, you named 3 more, right? Well, how about, what if I told you, if we went state to state, we could name 30 children who are missing and or mutilated, right? With nobody know nothing. Nobody know. And I'm talking about small town. I'm not talking about bullet ball in Chicago. We already know that epidemic. I'm talking about, I sent him to school and he never came home. And nobody knows what happened. There are at least 10 of those per state, amassed around the large cities. So until we really get somebody who's ready to do, and if anything, AI is going to help us. AI going to help us put this shit together, because if we type in the AI, we ask Claudia right now, Claudia, do a interstate, not interstate, what do you call it when you do a continental, that ain't the word, do a national search of all current missing children, African American children, based on their city database. If we put Claudia's ass on there, they are going to come up with something. I am crazy, and I'm also not stupid. So I want y'all to look out for the fact that Dylan Ruth was motivated by something, right, brother? He was gonna climb. Dylan Roof is not no punk in jail. Dylan Roof is somebody in prison. Amongst his national Aryan brothers, he's someone. Zimmerman, his name fucked him up. They know he Mexican, but if he didn't look so Mexican, he would have climbed the Aryan rank. So I just want y'all to look out when y'all start hearing not necessarily the cops killing us, but even though that happens and they can get their money and stuff from that, we already saw that, right? I'm talking about Rashi Johnson Edmond, believe that there is a consortium of white nationalist, white pathological programs where if you kill a African American, a person of color, and I hate the term, if you kill a non-white, you and can prove it and didn't get in trouble, you are not no regular ass foot soldier. You are you climbing them Charlie Kirk ranks. You know what I'm saying? And so that's my take on it. I am a little biased. Like I said, I do believe I'm personally I feel I am personally a victim of white rage on my own son, not the one living, the one that was drowned at a park 15 years ago in water that wasn't even anyway. So I'm biased, but I'm biased through grief. But the grief has made me hone in my awareness, and my awareness is telling me that there is some fucking kind of, it's not a check per se. America will give you a check for killing us. Uh, it's not a GoFundMe or whatever, but it is some type of rank, a militaresque rank that you can climb by harming us and not getting in trouble. So I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave that where that. I'm gonna sit that on the table. I know it stink. I know I sound crazy, but I'm gonna set that right there. All right.
You
I,
don't
I would
sound
say
crazy.
I would say it's more diabolical than that. I would say it's more diabolical than that. I just don't think that we understand anymore who they are and who we are. And that's a tough sell when everybody rather be Young Miami versus Indiari. It's a tough sell. It's a tough sell because when you don't understand who you are and the influence of cowardice when you're outnumbered and how we're often treated when we're outnumbered. The black friend is not typically the cool friend with the white folks. Don't let them make you feel that way. Maybe the athlete may be. The athlete may be. He may be the cool guy. You got the brother that's selling drugs. They're going to snitch on him, but he might be the cool friend if he's bringing him the weed, the pills, or whatever the case may be. But that typical black boy, black girl that is with all the white folks, they're not the cool friend. They're typically the friend that's bullied. They're typically the friend that is the peer pressure friend. They're typically that friend. And we're lying to ourselves and we're making it about because you speak proper English, our people are looking at you a certain way. That's not it. It's not your dialect. Another thing, once again, saying it's more diabolical than that. This is almost like safari hunting at this point. That's what makes it more diabolical. And I don't know you have to treat people how they treat you. I think that you just have to understand that some people you should not be in company with. You have to understand your company. And even if you feel comfortable with the person you with, it may be the people that they're with that you may not should be comfortable with because they have dollars, because they got a big pool in the backyard, because they got a boat, because they got a yacht, because they got a plane. The
Yeah, they
things
got a computer, brother Barry.
I ain't going there with you.
No,
Yeah, I think
you ain't you saying it,
everybody.
but this is it. But
Oh,
this
no,
is
no,
what I'm
I'm
telling
laughing.
you. This is
I'm
how
laughing.
that's how they got me in
Rashi,
the basement
I,
with the computer where I learned my skills, where I came out.
that's why I can't stop laughing because
Yeah, what skills she talking about? I don't know what Raji has.
No, you
She'll go
don't
to the
have to.
Clear Hills in a
Okay,
heartbeat
okay.
on it.
All right. Look. If you don't have a if it's not, if it's 1992, and you know that's when computers was available to, that's when they had the cute purple ones, right? and you don't have one, your homegirl don't have one, nobody in the hood got one,
You
you
remember the
don't,
story?
and you don't see one until you at school, and then you
You
only get that for
remember
45 minutes, and then they got to tell you what to do, but you got to get these skills. You know what's about to happen out here. And he got one in the basement. That is because his daddy's an engineer and his mama's a nurse. And there's a computer that's got all hooked. This motherfucker damn near, he got the disc for the internet, the AOL disc, the thing. He could get you on the internet.
You don't remember this story, Lee, about how she
Man,
for the computer and the
man,
white
just a
boy?
little hand, but a hand job to learn how to do everything on Microsoft and
Okay.
learn how to print and all that other stuff. But that's how you end up the only one in the basement. If he was a sociopath, I'd be dead.
So,
But I
but
wanted,
This
but
is
the
why I
things, no,
said
wait, I'm not trying, I'm trying to get this right. Hold on. The things I needed to get from that crowd, the computer skills, going to
right,
play tennis.
but right.
I thought I was up in my game, but I was
you was up in
putting,
his game.
I was putting myself potentially in dangerous spaces trying to gain skills and networking that are supposed to float me in my later years when I'm trying to figure out, am I getting me a job at Cerner? Yeah, because somebody sat me for the little 15 minutes in front of a computer that I got to use for hours every other weekend. I got to figure out how to
Right.
create documents and how to do this. And I used that information to get a job
Yeah.
later on. I'm just, but,
Uh,
and they didn't teach me
Rashi,
that at school.
Rashi, I
But
hear
I
you,
was in danger. But I
but,
was in
but
danger. I was,
I hear that, and what I'm saying is some people hear it and they're gonna take the gain versus the negative because people don't really have interpretation skills
I
as
think that's what is happening.
well. I mean, because people listen to those stories and they're gonna say, "But she got those skills and she got a job." They're not gonna look at what you had to do it, and that's the problem with a lot of this stuff is that people are looking at the plus, they're not looking at the minus. They're only gun ho on what they see as the pot of gold. Well, you might have to kill your mother to get the pot of gold. They're not looking at that. I just want that pot of gold. And I feel like in our community, a lot of the things that were justified, a lot of the things that we're conditioning our children for is problematic. Somebody talked about human trafficking. Also, with human trafficking, a lot of it starts off of what a young person feel like they're going to get in the process. He jacked them off to learn how to play organ.
And PowerPoint, my nigga, and Excel. And I learned paint. I
Man,
learned how to get on the internet. I learned how to do a Boolean search. Baby, I printed off some documents. I went to figure out my, that's right, JB.
She
I
played
mean,
with the balls to learn how to play pong. You know what I'm talking about?
hey,
This
man,
is anyhow.
But that's it. That's what I'm trying to tell you, how compromised we get in order to be wealth or opportunity adjacent.
yeah.
Just to
That's
be
what I'm
adjacent. What we're looking at here is not I don't want, going towards that does not mean negating myself. He could have looked in the mirror every day. I feel like when you hear people say I was the only one, it's like you looked in the mirror and said, "Oh, I got to get away from
But
this.
but
I
it
got
is
to go with
but
them."
Rashi,
That's not it
but it is
in its
negating
totality.
but it is negating ourselves because if we knew our history and slavery on the plantation and we knew this is how they forced us to be in the house. You want to know what a house nigga is? A house nigga is a nigga that's in the house that's typically doing sexual acts to be in the house or was produced by a sexual act in the house. Nobody wants to be a house nigga, but everybody wants to confess the house niggas activity. And that's just what it is. We're breeding house niggas. And we don't want to say it because we want to say our kid is brilliant. We don't want to say that some of the things that we're selling ourselves out for. And then we look down on each other when somebody else in our community is saying, yo, well, hey, if you want me to do this, and this, you got to put that out. Well, shit, you was just jacking dude off for Oregon Trail. So you telling me you want me to cut the grass, you want me to fix your car, and you saying for me, you just want me to get a handshake and say, hey, thank you, brother. Well, the white boy got a hand job. I'm just saying.
For skill, for an opportunity that for something that I thought I couldn't attain from you, and that's what I need you to hear. Not because what you had to offer was less,
You didn't know
But
that you
just
could
that
get
there was something else out there that I said, let me get that proximity. That's right, Marlon.
Rashi.
Let's see what that proximity do, baby. And that proximity pay. I mean, it
Rashi, they ended up giving free classes at the community center.
ain't that a bitch. Ain't that a bitch? It ended up being if I just would have waited, y'all don't get it. If you just wait 5 years, 5 years. Now I would have been minus one of them jobs, but I would have waited 5 years. I would have got them skills.
Oh
Guess what? I don't even use them skills no more. I might create a odd document here and there, but I don't even like the computer no more like I used to.
oh.
But that was just it.
That's because
Now
it's tied to trauma.
it's
That's
not the
why.
trauma, but yeah, but this is what I'm saying. The tennis time, understand?
Oh
Oh,
my
going
god.
to eat at restaurants that you never get a chance to eat at. The first time I ate at a high-end restaurant, I was a guest of a white family. You understand? So you get this buzz, you get this feeling like I'm not at well, if you from Kansas City, I'm from Charlie Parker Square, which is the project. It's literally a condominium place surrounded by projects. So once you surround yourself on all four sides by projects, I don't care what the lease say, you in the projects. So what I saw was a chance out
Hey
with the
Rashi,
skills that
the
I
chat
could
is going
gain from the people I was
the chat
willing
is
to
going
hang
crazy.
around. But let me tell you what they didn't do. Because you bring who you are with you, right, Brother Lee, Brother Barry?
Yeah.
They didn't talk that racist. If it was something racist to be said, please say it. Because when I showed up, when I hand jobbed them, I was in a dashiki. I had still my Africana identity. I was not
You got Thomas
selling.
Berry about to die.
I
Thomas
was
Berry
not
about to die.
selling out myself and this is important though. I did not bring an attenuated, oh, okay, Kiki Rashi. Rashi has always been the same person. You can attest to that, Brother Lee, after 15 years, same person. So I they know better. They had to morph in front of me. That's the other thing. They had to
Thomas,
morph.
breathe.
They
Breathe,
had to
Thomas,
morph
breathe.
into nice white people in front of me. So it was not so the people who get called nappy or whatever when they make them swim, that's some character shit they brought to the. Not, I'm not blaming the victim. I'm saying that's some character boundary issues they bring to the situation.
Shit,
But
man.
if you the only one and
Shit.
you there with your boundaries and you
Yeah,
already
no
know
boundaries. But
and
you
you already
put your mouth
know
on it. I
what you
mean,
in there, what you will and will not accept within a relationship. Hell yeah, you can get all kind of skills. What they say, do you want me to give you the 10,000 or you want to get 10,000 to sit with Jay-Z? Some people will say, they'll sit with Jay-Z. They think the affiliation with Jay-Z is worth more than $10,000. So in the mindset of a youth, the affiliation with the judge's son, the affiliation with the sheriff's daughter, the affiliation with the principal's nephew could be worth more than a little, than their dignity, or just a little key or whatever, or feeling like they being ostracized. So I do believe we need to dig into only one. I call it only one syndrome. It is not for the weak. You have to go in with a preconceived idea of who you
it is
are, but
really.
no, you have to understand where because this is what all Fortune 500 black people gonna tell you. You're gonna end up in that motherfucking meeting and ain't nobody Lee, even in the military, man. You didn't ended up somewhere where you was the only one. It's always a situation as you climb where you
Okay,
end up the only one. The thing is, who is in there with? Are you there with your ancestors? Are you there with historical memory? Are you there understanding the end game mission? Or are you there going for the motherfucking okey doke? Everybody ain't okey doke, and some people are end game driven.
let's bring this back, please. Let's bring this back. So, in continuing with the conversation, my next question is: as reasonable people, as adults, as parents, because we all have children. One of the things that most of us aspire to do, we look forward to doing, is putting our children in a better situation than we were. If you were brought up in the hood, if you did live in the J's on both accounts, you want to move somewhere where your children have a better life. Has assimilation put us in, or I say, no, no, since say assimilation, integration. Has integration put us directly into harm's way with respect to our children because we are all pretty much descendants of folks who went through the struggle, maybe not directly, but indirectly. So we even so got a piece of that struggle indirectly. But our children have not gotten so much. Our children have been more shielded than we ever were shielded, more so than not. Has integration made us soft and in kind made our children soft so they don't even perceive danger when danger is certainly looking at them straight away, straight in the face?
I think, man, I gotta stop laughing. But I think one of the things that we've kind of harmed our children with is somewhat making it too easy in certain aspects. And I think when we take the conversation of race off the table, and the reason why I bring that up is when I saw the video, the interview with the parents of this young man, and their response was similar to the response of the parents in Texas when they were like, they didn't want to make it about race. And I'm like, we're in America. Anytime you have an interaction where there's black death at the hands of at the hands of white folks, or you have a black person being on trial for the murder of somebody white, race is going to play a role into it because this is America. This is in the muscle memory of the country. And I do feel that sometimes we've kind of, I think it is assimilation, Lee. I think it's an illusion of inclusion. And when
Yes.
people feel like they've made it, or they feel like if I do this, this is going to put me closer, it's chasing that high. We're chasing a high, like they say, a junkie in a high, the first high, the junkie's always chasing that high. We're always in this assimilation mode. We're always chasing that high. And, Rashi brought up people who climb the ladder. One of the people that was famous in the South Side when I was coming up was a sister named Sophie. She was a dope fiend. Beautiful, gorgeous chocolate sister. You could see in her younger self, she was beautiful. But one day I was having a conversation with her. You know what I'm saying? I was one of those compassionate drug dealers. Anyway, having a conversation with her. And Sophie was just telling us
You
how.
slid at it. I was one of those compassionate drug dealers.
They're gonna say something about me giving a white boy a hand
No, no,
job in a dashiki,
hey,
but ain't
listen.
gonna say nothing about him
Hey,
being
listen.
a therapeutic drug dealer. Come on,
I
y'all.
wasn't selling drugs in the dashiki though. And by the way, so I was talking to Sophie, and when I was having a conversation with Sophie, just saying, that's what I be telling y'all. See, when people be like saying I be tripping, I'm like, yo, don't be going with them the ethnic names and the clothes. Anyway, I digress. So when I was talking to Sophie, Sophie was talking about climbing that ladder. And when she climbed that ladder, when she felt like she was the only one, that's when she turned into drugs because she couldn't go home and have a conversation with family and friends because climbing that ladder, she was on that ladder by herself. And I feel like that's one of the parts that we're not we're not telling our children. We're not explaining this conversation that even if you are in the midst of these could be people you went to high school with, they could be your grade school friends, but there's certain aspects of your life that they're never going to relate to. The subtle hints of racism, the subtle hints of people not letting you go into places. And then you might have some friends who are conscious of it, but they may not be your only group of friends. That might be one friend out of the 5 that you have or the several that you have. We have to do a better job of having that conversation. I have that conversation all the time with my sons. Again, I don't have to have it with my daughter, but my sons are grown and I'm still having that conversation because in the back of my mind, I know when I talked to my father about his brother, he would always say, but he loved his white friends though. And those were the ones that killed him. And so I
Oh
just,
wow.
you know,
Oh,
again,
pause on that. Pause on that. Talk
yeah.
about that.
Well, this is like one of those situations where when I heard the story when my father was saying he had to go to his funeral in Michigan, I didn't, he said his friend was drug. And I mean, this is like in the 89, you watching TV, I'm thinking more so drug, like, drug, like somebody OD. And no, he was drugged, chained and drugged by his friends. And so,
Your uncle.
yeah, yeah, that's why in my household, listen. This is the reason why I run and operate. I'm in the midst of Minnesota, and I operate in a different vein from everybody else. But Indiana and Michigan is like that. We have militias in Michigan, race militias. We have the Klan in Indiana. So that's a lot different than a lot of other places that people operate from, right? So you learn pretty on those black folks who hang out in those crowds, they're typically victims of some sort. They are. Like I have not seen, don't get me wrong, there's some people I know who are successful, who are married to white women, but they still won't put themselves in all white crowds like that. They're aware. I know some women that are married to white men, but they're not going to put themselves in all white crowds because they're aware. But then there's some of us who have no awareness whatsoever. And you can just see the victimization that's waiting to take place. And look, I just watched a documentary about kids being pulled out of Minneapolis and put to places around the outer realms of the city. It's not what the parents are saying. Listen to the kids, and the kids are what they're saying, what's happening to them at school. If you really want to understand this, go talk to some black kids who are forced after they've been in the city and then they have to go out there, because now you understand, oh, this teacher ain't talking to me the way she's talking to the rest of the class. She has no belief that I can be valedictorian. He has no belief that I'm intelligent. They're treating them a lot better. When there's a fight that's being picked, it's our kid that's always starting it, and it's their kid that's always the victim, even though it can be for them that's 6'1", and one of our kids is 5'9", a la Carmelo Anthony. And because of his pigment, automatically they're treating him as if he's an animal. So I do believe that there is a level of conversation that's not being had. And I believe that it's not, partially because of the music, partially because of the music. The music stopped talking about it. They stopped singing about it. It's not just a hip hop thing. It's not a hip hop thing. It's a music thing. When we left with R&B, there's no singers singing about it. Chris Brown ain't delivering that cut for y'all. Usher ain't singing that song. There is no Stevie Wonders. There is no James Browns. There is no Isley Brothers. We're not getting those records from R&B artists neither. And I'm just saying, it's not in the movies anymore. It's not written in the television shows anymore. Hell, the podcasts don't even really talk about it much. She said, I just pulled two of my
We
nieces out
do.
of high school. I mean, we do, but I'm just saying in general. And so, like what she's saying about Wyzetta, I know that area, wealthy, super wealthy white folks who are racist. My son played basketball on Osseo basketball team, and he had to check the white kids that were recruiting him to a private school for saying during the game he was playing ghetto ball. And he said, ghetto ball? What? And he's on the bench, and I'm trying to figure out why is he so mad. He's like, look, they scared to play against these black kids. I'm not scared. I play against them all the time. And he said, I'm on the bench, and this dude had to tell me, because I took the ball between my legs and around my back, I'm playing ghetto ball. And he was like, y'all out here getting beat down, and I'm playing ghetto ball. He's like, and hey, am I playing ghetto ball because I'm black? He said, that's what I was asking, because I'm black. And he had to tell the coach because it was the coach's son. Like, yo, I'm not cool with that. But he was taught in the home to speak up from that. And we wasn't surrounding him by a bunch of white kids. These At the same time, Lee, they were trying to recruit my son to play at one of the top private schools for football. And that whole situation is part of the reason why he never went to Totino Grace, because he understood, like, no, they like what I can do. They really don't like me. They want me to be more like them.
So I want to get to a comment. You read one from Laura Rhonda. I want to
Sister
sister. If
Miranda Bird. Yes.
hopefully I did not slaughter your name, but Sister Sanab said something earlier. She said it's crazy the number of racist comments this story is on this story on social media. Looks like America is going backwards and we are becoming more polarized now. Here's the sad part about that, and I think one of the brothers commented later. I don't want to say it was named. Marlon commented later. It's not about us going backwards. It's not about us being more polarized. This shift has been an undercurrent for a very long time. Again, it was most famously bubbled up and shown in full force with the tiki carrying khaki boys back in the day screaming out, "We will not be replaced." We have referenced this a number of times on the show. If you do not have it, go out and cop it. It's a book. It's a book. Dr. Francis Quest Wilson, The ISIS Papers. We have talked about that book numerous amount of times on the show. What you read in that book is what you're seeing right now. These white folks have understood for a long time that melanin was coming, and they are afraid what's going to happen when America becomes more black and brown. They fear that the shit that they've done to us is going to come back to them tenfold. They are shook in their boots about that. There was a recent article that broke this week said Atlanta, that's not true. Georgia is now officially a majority minority state. How are you the minority in the state if you're the majority? I don't get that. The reason that folks came over in boatloads to America back in the day through immigration policies, there was too many black people here. You breeded these slaves and you breeded them and you breeded them and you breeded them. Guess what you made? More black folks. There was too many black folks in America. That's why they opened the floodgates and wanted all these white folks to come. Just like they did in the majority of South America, Central America. It's all the same. The natives to these countries do not look like them folks. They look like us. Those were the natives. These are the folks that they run around call Indians. Motherfucker, they weren't Indians. They were native people. And those native people look like you and I. They did not look blonde hair, blue eye, red hair, green eye. They did not look like that. Now, there are some of us that do have green eyes and red hair. There are some of us that look just like that, but usually not with that pigment. We tend to be darker and still have those features. That's where they get them from. Remember, we can make them. They cannot make us. They cannot make us. They don't have it. They don't have that thing that it takes to make us. So, uh, Rashi, what do you think about that? Do you think integration has made us soft and it's caused our children to not
Don't
see?
get to asking me about my damn son over there eating copious amounts of fucking Chipotle every day. Yes and no. Okay, cause look, my 30-year-old daughter know how to lift the alternator out of her car now. She's tired. She's tired of playing. She know how to unscrew the bolts and put the. My son get kind of throwed off if the bus is late. You know what I'm saying? If the bus is a little late, he'd say, "Fuck it, just call an Uber." Like he can't take no inconvenience to get on his nerves. So I did what most black women do. I parented every person separate to who they was. And when I realized that I don't happen to build John Henry. I call him John Henry. Them sons who could do They can change your alternator. They come in, they lean your house back right. They do her mama, and then they go and grow some. You know, I can't. I don't have it to grow John Henry. I actually preferred to grow me a Lewis Latimer. I thought I had me a Lewis Latimer Jr. on my hand, but then I realized what Lewis. What? See, this is our argument. This is what we've been talking about this whole time. I know I need a John Henry. Because that's what my family need. My family need a John Henry. We need a literal man who say, what? You need the porch redone. What? What? The thing. You need the what? And then the thing, but. And I don't want that. My son ain't no damn John Henry. My son is a Lewis Latimer, But what did Lewis Latimer have to deal with? Lewis Latimer had to deal with Thomas Edison's narcissistic, egotistical, stealing ass. So it, Thomas, I am stuck there. I want for my children what other cultures have claimed. I want I want easy street for my kids based on their brain. I said I don't have no cotton pick. I don't have no cotton picking kids. My kids would die in a cotton field, and that's the truth of the matter. I personally think I could pick cotton, but the actual labor, like, come on, pick that shit up on this side, bro. It's gone. It's gone in my kids. My daughter will break her nail, and my granddaughter gonna tell you no. You'll shoot my granddaughter. She was like, hell no. Okay, so whatever my mama had because of her grandma, I still got a little taste. I call it historical memory. My daughter got a tinge of it. She know what need to happen. She ain't gonna do it because she got her nails done, but she know. My son don't know what the fuck you talking about. And my granddaughter knows, but I wish I say it, so I can burn this whole motherfucking country down. So it's not about skill. It's about a willingness to play the game. And I don't know, are we happy that they don't want to play the game no more? That they decided that it's cuter to just what? To just what though? This is what I always tell the kids that I teach, Thomas. If you don't do this, okay, if you don't play the game, what we gonna do? Cause I fuck around, with you. If you want to take the classroom outside in the playground, I'll do it. If you don't want to play the game, then tell me our new game, and I'll tell you how we can maneuver it in this FaceTime we in. But don't nobody come up with no new game. Ain't nobody told me nothing different in education for real. Not Dr. Umar, not the dude with the all boys school that graduates 99% of his people to what? You graduate them into what, right, Barry? And so I'm down with alternative housing. I'm down with spot what they call it when the healthcare come to you. Pull up on these motherfucking addicts. They arms are rotting off. Cause we got did y'all know we got a new drug?
No, haven't heard about that one. Which one?
It's called Trank. Have y'all heard of Trank?
No.
Ain't nobody heard of Trank? Hey, hey,
Nope.
hey, hey, y'all listening? Have y'all heard of TRANQ? Trank. All right, Trank got the fentanyl in it. Trank got whatever the motherfucker in the back of the warehouse want to put in it for real. But y'all been seeing them dudes folded over, right? Y'all seen the folded over people?
Mhm.
You think that's not meth? That's not coke. That ain't even heroin. It's not even pure fentanyl. It's something they got called trank. I think they done stole the animal medicine. You know what I'm talking about? The
Yeah,
veterinary
I'm looking it
medicine.
up right now.
And they mixing it in, and they got it to where if you have an addicted family member, go out there and see if they didn't cross paths with this shit, because when they put it in, it rot their arm. Like the arm that they shoot it in mostly is rot. It rots off, and it's taking toes. Please,
Like,
y'all go in there and do a thing on Trank. So when you get to seeing it, you realize, okay, integration into what?
But I think that part of this though is again illusion of inclusion. It's these ideas that when we talk about the generations and how far removed our kids is from the cotton field and how we could somewhat do it, but our parents probably had to do a little bit of picking cotton because some of our families were still doing sharecropping when they were small children. So if you had to go back and visit the South or you still lived in the South, you maybe was sharecropping to pay the bills, like to keep the lights on. And we're so far removed, but also from that far removal is this aspect that we got to be twice as better. We also have to make sure that we refrain from some of the allure of drugs that they can be okay with, because we know from crack cocaine to cocaine dealers that we were getting sentenced way more time than they were. We know that for prostitution, black prostitutes are getting sentenced more times, and the fines are a lot more stiffer than the white ones. Matter of fact, there's ours are prostitutes, and there's a call girls for a reason. They want to make sure that it's
Escorts. They escorts.
whatever it is, it's always a separation. They want to make sure that they let us know that they're different, and they will be prosecuted different, and they'll be treated different. It's just the assimilation aspect. And when you have people, and this goes back to the entertainment. The entertainment does that. The song in the night in the early 2000s was "Party Like a Rock Star." You know how rock stars party compared to, like rock stars was, they were on meth. And so what? We're shocked by we're seeing our kids on fentanyl and methamphetamines and back popping pills like they were doing in the 70s, even though we transitioned from the disco and people kind of moved away from it, but we went right back into it once we started partying like a rock star. When we start integrating ourselves into those things. Go ahead, Brother Lee.
You think crack is going to come back? Because drugs are cyclic, but do you think crack is going to come back as an epidemic? I know crack hasn't never gone away, but
I'm
do you
like, you
think
better
crack could
ask
come
my
back?
sister. She could get you a rock right now.
I,
I want a rock right now.
But
Jesus Christ.
I said an epidemic, not. I know it's never gone away, but do you think these kids
It
will be
can.
foolish enough
It
to
can.
start hitting the crack pipe again?
It can, because meth is worse. Not meth, but because heroin was worse than crack. Heroin is
What?
heroin is worse than crack. It's a harder addiction to kick than crack.
What?
It was, and heroin was cycled out into the 80s, and then crack came,
I don't know. I'm arguing with that. I
and
don't know,
then
Brother Barry. I
and then
don't know.
up until 2000 when crack started to slow down. Once we got 9/11, right? The stories is that allowed the Afghanis, because remember the Taliban was burning the poppy, and the poppy is where you get your heroin. And without that poppy, we wouldn't have got back to that heroin
You
epidemic.
ain't saying
Right?
right. Hurrah, hurrah. Say it right, man. Damn.
And then you turn around and you get the situation with crack. I mean, it could, if you get a president who needs an Iran Contra war. If you get a president that's willing to tell the FBI to look the other way, and let the cartels fund something that he needs. So yeah, it can certainly come back. But I would ask this question. Crack was so crazy that the term crackhead, nobody wanted to be a crackhead, right?
Say that again.
It was a running joke. Where's the joke? And I'm going back to
Where
culture.
my heron heads? That's right. Where you heads at?
No,
What's
no,
that?
because fentanyl is worse than that. Because
I
fentanyl
call
is
them the folded. I got their name. I call them the folded people.
so where is the jokes of fentanyl? Well, it's hard to have the
But it's
jokes.
about white folks, right?
Well, no, because black people, I'm telling you, I never knew what a fentanyl user looked like, because you're typically trying to find that typical drug user. So we go into a home, and this client that I'm in there with is always sleepy, and I couldn't, but they weren't sleepy like they weren't sleepy like a heroin high, but they were sleepy. They weren't nodding off, but they would always be like, "I'm tired, I'm tired, I'm tired." And their kid ended up touching a iPad that had it on it and ended up ODing. Okay.
Oh wow.
And that's the only way that we knew that they were using. I say that to say most of the entertainers are on those drugs. Most of the comedians are on those drugs. So guess what you don't get?
That's right. Come on, say it. Say it,
There
Barry.
raps about the fentanyl user. There's no jokes about the fentanyl user. There's no songs being sang about the fentanyl user. So
Wait a minute. That's
this
not quite true, but we don't like them songs. We don't like them lean songs. But
no
they
no
they talking about they
no
popping
you
Molly.
you got to hear what I'm saying, Rashi. You're talking about it in the cool aspect. I'm saying that crack was joked about, looked down about, and you didn't want to be a crackhead. There was nobody rapping about smoking crack. It wasn't a cool
Right.
thing. And so when you have it assimilated into the culture, and everybody's cool with the culture, and then you got somebody like India.Re or KRS-One that might speak up and say, "Yo, this is kind of out of whack, man. Shut your hating ass up. Oh, you jealous? You just old and you washed up."
Oh,
And you getting it from some of your peers, you getting it from the young people. So I think it could come back? I do, Lee. I think crack could come back because all they gotta do is make the entertainers say that it's cool. If you got an entertainer that comes out and they make a song about smoking crack and how cool it was and what they were able to do on the crack and how many girls they were able to sleep with that were smoking crack with them and whatever the case may be. Yeah, I think in 10 years, 20 years, compared to a fentanyl user, that yeah, crack could definitely make a comeback.
okay. All right, let's move on. So one of the things that came back this week is something none of us needed to fucking come back this week, which is the disregard for the memorandum of understanding with Iran. So, because of the death of the supreme leader, the latest supreme leader has vowed that there will be revenge coming. Trump's rebut to that has been there are 1,000 missiles aimed at the Republican guard, and there are many more to come if they try to assassinate him. So his trying to choose my words. I'm trying to choose my words. I'm trying to use my words. I'm trying to use my words. Interesting self has gone with the stance of he's trying to negotiate that the Iranians will not fire on any ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz. He's using that as freaking cover. His ass is shook in his boots. That's what's going on right now. Marlon said that MOU was written on a napkin. Lee, you're right. It was written on toilet paper. To be honest with you, yeah, this cat has no sense of diplomacy. His team has no sense of diplomacy. We are literally sitting with the least qualified individuals in their respective jobs, and this has put us all in danger. Gas prices, of course, went up, even though OPEC has pledged to increase output. I don't know where this ends. I really don't.
Hey, you think we
It
gonna start
is.
talking to Nigeria for some of theirs?
It's not that simple. It's not that simple. I wish it were, but it's not that simple. And it's not one of those things where it comes from is the deciding factor as much as the threat of wherever it comes from. The bulk of it is still going through the Strait of Hormuz. So it's a threat to the worldwide supply. This is truly an accounting equation. It's supply and demand. The demand is still high. The supply has a direct threat to it. If that supply gets cut off, everybody and their mama trying to make sure they got their money, regardless of what happens. That's it. And because they have it and we don't, they get to dictate the price. So the conversations happen. I don't know if we broached this on the show, but the conversations were, well, we got our own, or why don't we? Because we don't set the price.
Yeah.
Okay,
It is
so
a it's
OPEC,
agreed upon. That
OPEC set the price. I mean, I got it. So who
yes,
set? OPEC.
Yes, OPEC says
And OPEC
is
is a part of our like NATO pact, right? It's a part of our
no,
like trade agreement pacts, right?
nope. OPEC is an independent agency, independent alliance, whatever the hell you want to call them, whom the world gave the green light to years ago because they have the oil to set the prices. Now, obviously, there's some y'all ain't gonna kill us. You know what I mean? But yeah, y'all go and set the price and we'll pay you a fair price. Well, as we see, um, this whole yo-yo effect, whenever the jitters get to going, it's funny how quickly gas can go up, yet it's very slow to go down. Very slow to go down.
Yeah.
In Pennsylvania, there's supposed to be these freedom fuel stations with gas at a relatively low price, compared to market value right now. And folks are trying to figure out whom is sponsoring these gas stations. No one knows as of yet. Um, we'll figure that out sooner rather than later. But regardless, this will probably be wind up being another situation where the Karen administration is playing in our face, and we just taking it because they have the power to do so right now.
You know,
This
brother,
election,
you know that
this election is
inside of Russia,
serious, and we need to be serious about it. Go ahead, Thomas. I'm sorry.
inside of Russia right now, the Ukrainians have been targeting their
They're
oil,
all refineries.
not just
Yep.
refineries, their the tankers, the trucks that's bringing it. I've seen a bunch of drone attacks around on sea and land where they're destroying them. And I'm wondering when will that have an impact on us here? Because that's all part of the global market. Anytime you start attacking oil and gas, even if we're not using that current supply, but anytime the supply gets into a scarcity mode, then the price
Yep.
goes more. And so
Hmm.
just waiting to see when that's going to have an impact. Um, I will say this about Trump.
Bum bum bum.
I mean, at the end of the day, I would believe that it might be the Iranians less who may have a bullseye on them. I would say it could be another Kabuki theater run that they're
Mm,
put on us during the midterm. But
mm.
pretty soon it's going to go from Iran to saying that the Democrats are doing it. And I would just say for me,
You know it.
I I don't take when he says those things serious anymore because they haven't done a good enough job investigating the other attempts.
Mm. Speaking of the Dems, Rashi, I'm sorry, Rashi, did you have anything to add on that before I pivot?
Nah, speaking of the dams, because they over there acting a fool.
Yeah,
I mean,
Plattner,
you know what I'm saying? They up here, we cutting each other's throat. They cutting each other's throat just to see what come out.
correct. Plattner uh, Graham Plattner formally withdrew from the Senate race in Maine. There were uh, allegations of sexual assault levied against him in recent days, and he has withdrawn from the Senate race. Maine has pivoted. They're trying to establish and get candidates on the ballot before the end of this month in order for them to be eligible to participate in the um, general election come November. To Rashi's point, they are not they. I think Plattner more so than anybody is he's being defiant without a doubt. He doesn't like the fact that he had to pull out. He doesn't like the fact that support from him was pulled. He doesn't. He indicated his team indicated from reporting that they wanted to be involved in picking the successor. The the, uh, the Democratic committee in Maine said no, that's not how this works. You need to get out. You need to be gone, and we need to figure out somebody else. So,
I vote for Stephen King personally.
I was going to look and see how much longer their congressperson had on her or has on her tenure to see if it would make sense for her to run for Senate, then governor of Maine. I needed to do some diving. I apologize, I didn't do it. Do some diving to figure out if that the governor of Maine would then appoint another Democrat to fill her slot. That, in my opinion, is the best move to make. It's the simplest move to make. However, Maine will do what Maine does. They have a plan. They have a
That's
process.
right.
They have a very young lady that's the president of the Democratic Association for the state of Maine. And I think she's a superstar in the making, to be honest with you. She seemed collected in the interviews that I've seen of her. She's always been on point. She's spoken very well. Honestly, I was thinking if you move the young lady from Congress to Senate, you fill that backlog with her.
All right, I got a question.
Shoot,
Uh, you think he dead or is he literal? Is he dead or alive? Your
are
boy.
you talking about Mitch McConnell?
Is he dead or alive in your opinion? Is he dead or alive?
All right,
Put
so
in the comments if you think he dead or alive.
all right, look now. So Moscow Mitch has been missing for a while. It's gotten to the point where Governor, I think his name is Bashir, actually called publicly for an update on his health. It hasn't come yet. Um, I don't think he's dead. I think they would have gone on and announced his death by now.
They didn't even
I,
say nothing about that lady that was in the geriatric center all that time. Barry, you remember that they couldn't find her? It was somebody was missing and they didn't find her. They found her 5150 in the motherfucking old folks home on
was,
her way
was
out.
that was that Florida or was that Texas that lady
And then
represented? I
remember
know
that
you
one
talking.
dude that was dead? They was like, he ain't dead. Then they had put a new dude in the seat. They was like, no, he ain't dead. They was like, here go the death report. They said that's not death. Uh, and then they put a new Republican in the chair, but they had to pretend like he was alive. So didn't nobody sell his seat off.
See, go ahead, Thomas. What were you saying? I'm sorry.
Well, I know that he was in Texas with the lady she's talking about, and I know with the situation with Mitch McConnell, I believe he's passed away. I believe that he is brain dead, but dead or alive,
Okay.
Mitch was the one who formulated that plan to thwart President Obama's election, and now he's helping Trump out in every which way possible. So yeah, I believe he's passed away. With the situation in Maine, the organization FIGHT, that was kind of like an offshoot of Bernie Sanders folks. They were some of his consultants.
I'm sorry. I'm laughing at Sanaa. They cloned him like Tyrone. You talking about Mitch McConnell? They cloned him.
F. Do you know what the fight acronym stands for, Brother Barry? I'm finna look it up.
Nope, I don't. But you can just look up the firm that found Plattner. And so that firm has also been responsible for a couple questionable Democratic leaders. And I would say this is probably more so along the line of how those people with Bernie, how they feel. The senator from Pennsylvania that everyone hates, that's the Democrat, he also was selected by this group. And again, look at his politics. This guy didn't have a Nazi tattoo by accident. And I know his talking points are his talking points, but Fetterman had good talking points too until he got a stroke.
He's gonna be a Republican.
Oh, for sure he will if he could last, if he could last. But my point is that again, when we look at the party, these ultra progressives, these socialists, we have to do a little bit more digging before we necessarily sign on. And I was saying this to Roddy yesterday, which I was hoping he was going to be on today. But I do think it's time for black folks to start carving out a particular lane. If it's going to be Democrat, Republic, whatever it is, What is our uh, theology of politics? We need to name it. We need to name it.
Okay.
You know,
So do we need to stick with just the two, or do we need to exhibit a true democracy where there are more than two parties, where it's really a situation? I saw this the other day. A sister was saying how there was a map that she had in South Africa when apartheid was about to end, and how many different parties they had, and
yeah,
how it was important to con- coalesce those all into a movement. Despite who won, I'm sorry, who was running, that it was important for them to form a government. And I think I see that more in Europe than here, where democracy is really shown, because everyone has their thing and everyone's a part of their party. Not cutting you off, Brother Barry. I wanted to agree with you and just put that out there with that.
yeah. I wouldn't say that it has to be necessarily curtailed to either one of the parties. It's just a school of thought of what you would call your specific candidate is, right? You know, we could say this person is a democratic socialist or this person is a conservative. Then what type of politician do we want to see? You know, based off our value system, based off of our needs as a voting bloc, what would we call them? You know, conservative, socialist, progressive, etc. Okay, so what's the black version? Because they come up with new labels, y'all, on us all the time, and we're adopting those labels. When I go somewhere and I hear BIPOC, I'm like, damn, they got you, right? Because we just buy the labels and we don't ask, how did you come up with a term like BIPOC? Um, but what are our labels? And I feel like politically, we'll show our growth when we start doing that. And look, shout out to ADOS, and even shout out to the FBAs. FBAs are less political than ADOS is, but those are ways that you can stand on something and say, no, is this candidate along this line of thinking? And I think that's what we should be pushing for. But yeah, no, two parties, two parties are tough to stick with. I don't believe in sticking with two parties. I think that the two-party system has played itself out, and I think that it's about time to expand. But again, with that expansion, when you because I asked Rodney yesterday, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tucker Carlson, there's some dollars behind the flip. And they're trying to say they're not Republican because MAGA done burnt Republicans up. So they need to come up with a new ideology, right? That MAGA ideology done burnt the Republicans up. So nobody wants to be a part of that brand. So they're trying to turn that into something. And it's going to seem like it's a lot of the Democrats' points, a lot of the Republicans' points. It's going to be a hodgepodge. But I guarantee you, Lee, Rashi, the undercurrent is still going to be white supremacy.
They're fighting for those independents. So they see the numbers, they see the polls, and they see the independents really turned off by the Republican brand right now, because Trump is at the top of the ticket and he can say what the fuck he wants to say. This is not a MAGA party, it's still the Republican Party. They may be expressing MAGA themes, they may be going forward with a MAGA agenda, but the name of the party is still Republican. And it's turning a whole lot of people off. Again, expressly those independents whom allowed for that wave to come with Trump to come into power this time. They're trying to play to them. They ain't gonna get him in 2028 because Trump is just muddy the hell out the waters. But you're right. They are trying to play to him. They're trying to get him in a different alignment and take advantage of that. Now, I do want you all to know that I am truly in fear right now. I'm in fear because the Japanese, the Islamic State of Japan, fired missiles at us, and we need to be concerned. We need to be concerned about the Japanese attack on us, just so y'all know, because
Huh?
that's what our president said.
Huh? Oh no,
You didn't see that
he had did some
when
time
his
warp shit.
dumbass
He thought
when
it
his
was
dumbass
19.
conflated Japan with Iran.
Well, yeah, that's all right, cause he was just got through talking to Roosevelt, so he wasn't sure what era he was in. What what? This what we need to understand. Real, real changes.
Eisenhower Roosevelt now.
No, for real, you saw him talking to him with the Proud Boys behind him, right? The same Proud Boy uniform they marched in the street with. This what I was. That's actually what I wanted to talk to you about. Uh, them dudes. They don't have no tiki torches no more. They was carrying
Oh,
Confederate flags and stuff. But
yes.
the dudes is still walking the streets, antagonizing. We still got the Klan to march. You know what I'm saying? No more sheets. It's last time it was a Hey man, don't nobody know that when they selling all the where they getting all them khaki? I know you can get your khaki pants anywhere, but where they getting all these navy shirts? They keep marching. You understand? They didn't figured out a way to sell each other merchandise and meet up at certain places, and they pour about the back of U-Haul trucks and whatnot. And so that's what I would like for us to look at the prevalence
They on
of these.
platforms.
Is that what it is? It's a Reddit. It's some Reddit
All right.
shit that I'm not privy
No,
to.
I don't think it's Reddit. I've said this again. They've been good in moving in the dark web, while we stick to Facebook, we stick to Instagram. It don't matter how much we hear Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and X and TikTok is monitored. We're like the dodo bird. So what, we'll be here. We'll plant our head into the ground and stick our ass up and let them chop our heads off. They're moving silently in ways that we're just not able to see it. But I will. I mean, I know we got 15 minutes left. My thing with all of this is, as scary as the situation was with Iran, what he did with the voting commission, that's scarier, because now there is no one to make sure that the elections go off without a hitch. There is no one now that can monitor the machines. That means that that what he's trying to do with the postal system to make sure that mail-in ballots don't work, we're going to be impacted with this upcoming elections, the next few elections, because of this. And I would say again, Americans are falling asleep at the wheel, because this is going to have, when we wake up in the ditch, it's going to be too late to say, "Oh, let's talk about it now," because we're gonna be foobarred, fucked up beyond recognition.
So the Supreme Court kind of put the brakes to the Postal Service fiasco because they did say, in their opinion last week, that mail-in ballots would still count, even if they were received past the election. So they just need to be postmarked like they always have. They upheld that tenet. I agree with you though. We don't know who's going to be watching the machines. We can't have full faith in this justice system. They just dropped the case. We'll talk about this next week because we ain't got time for it today. But they just dropped the case, a crypto case that they've been pursuing for a while. But they just dropped that case. Um, they made another settlement with the fucking failed general. That was, again, we'll talk about the DOJ next week. We ain't got time for that today. Going back to Rashi's point, so the organization is called Patriot Front, and they showed up in DC with roughly 400 of their members. Who was that? Brother Marlon said they getting them shirts off of Amazon. Rashi, they getting them joints off the Amazon, but uh, here they are taking refuge because of the heat in the Museum of African American History. Ain't that some shit? Don't you just love the karma involved in that? But these cats came to DC. They're riding public transportation. There's a photo now, famous photo, infamous photo, however hell you want to call it, a classic, with them packing the subway car and the sister sitting patient quietly by herself, just looking at him like, "Are these fools really here?" That's the expression I copped
And
off
they
her
knew not
face.
to sit next to her ass too. No,
Say
motherfucker,
that
I'm
again.
sitting right in the middle. I'm using my booty crack to straddle the two seats, bastard, to get the hell on. But this is what I
Yeah,
need them to know. It ain't no reason why she couldn't have got hurt. That group think
correct.
y'all gotta do y'all psychology studying. It's called group think. It's when all one dude gotta say is, "Hey, yeah, yeah, yeah." Oh no, that's not what they did. Yeah, I don't know what they chant is, but you know what I'm talking about. And once they run it down, they'll get. Who do you? They all covered. Who do you say hurt you?
Mm.
It was the man right
But
there in the blue shirt and the
that's
khaki
true.
pants with the white mask. He hurt me. All these motherfuckers look like that.
Right.
And so,
So
yeah, there
look,
was no reason why she shouldn't have, why she couldn't have gotten hurt. And everybody on that line who was dealing with that mass exodus.
right. So let me give some rundown. Just a quick search. So Patriot Front is an American white supremacist group, part of the broader alt-right movement. The group split off from the neo-Nazi organization Vanguard America. Write that down, y'all. Vanguard America in the aftermath of the Unite the Right rally in 2017. Patriot Front's aesthetic combines traditional Americana with fascist symbolism. So that just another group to look out for. Now, um, in some of their minds, the NAACP is a hate group. In some of their minds, uh, uh, other traditional black organizations are hate groups. Hell, in some of their minds, us doing what we're doing right now is a
I'm definitely
hate
part
group.
of a hate group. I hate that shit, bro.
So that's what it is, and that's what it was. But again, I don't know. I just let it be. You saw, I just kept going. We have to be mindful of our surroundings. We have to be in the understanding of this shit ain't gonna get better. It's gonna get worse. It's going to get real ugly September, October, right before the election, and it potentially could get even worse right after the election, depending on how the election goes. This is the time to make sure that you and your loved ones are taken care of. Started the show talking about my uncle. Make sure you have your affairs handled. Make sure people around you know how to get in contact with other people that you know, love, and want to know what's going on with you. Make sure that you are handling your business. Make sure you are handling your business. Make sure you are protected. Make sure your family is protected. Take care of yourselves, people. This is not getting better, it's getting worse. These young men that continuously die, it's not okay. Going back to the book that we talked about, the ISIS papers, Francis Christ Wilson. When you kill a black man, you are taking a huge chess piece off the board. You're taking a huge chess piece off the board. But they wanted to get slick. They wanted to do more than that. Look at the incarceration rates of black women. It's getting rougher. They're getting longer. They want to take black children off the board. Period. You take the father, you take the mother before they're born, you take them after they're born. You incarcerate them for longer stints and longer terms. You're more harsh on them to prevent them the opportunity from getting out and making a family, making themselves become good members of society. This is what happens. This is not a game that we can afford to lose. We have to be smart about it. We have to take care of ourselves and take care of the people around you as best you can. Everybody ain't gonna make it. Some folks don't believe that fat meat is greasy. Unfortunately, those are the ones that ain't gonna make it. All right, Rashi, what you got to end us out with?
I want to make sure our listeners don't think we saying that people who find themselves in all white spaces or like that they don't they it's not that they don't believe fat meat is greasy. It's just that they have signed on, for a reality that may not be real. It may not be true that your proximity to power will get you into power. Now sometimes it is. I can't hold you. I don't know what to tell you about people who are able to ascend because of their networking. I believe they tell me that that is actually the way of the African. The carpenter, he know the mechanic, he know the chef, him know the car, and they all work together in order to build a network and economy. But I do know that it hurt seeing that baby, and that I know that he is one of so many. So what you got to type in is tech. One, you got to type in missing children, because a lot of these we saw him float up, right? We got they got pictures of him floating up in the water. Do you know there are so many children we'll never see pop out of that water? If you really want to get cognizant of what we're dealing with, of what this hunting game is, right, Brother Barry? You said that there's an actual human hunting game that some organizations, like the ones we saw marching in the streets, are willing to engage in, and if they feel like it brings national purity, right? If it fights against things like the fact that in 2050 it'll be 9 white people left and they all gonna be cousins and they better get to having sex because that's all there's gonna be. So when we get to that realization and we see the desperation in the population, I didn't mean to rhyme on that. Uh, you have to be prepared for some weird shit to go down. One of the weird shit, Brother Barry, is that law enforcement is going to have to enforce a silent code of behavior. What I feel, what are the things you are tracking in the watch is this silent. It's the same organization that you can rise through the ranks after you kill one of us, right? But if you are a cop in that, or if you are a police or federal agent or would have any type of federal authority, and you are a nationalist, you can create a band of silent foot soldiers who enact shit like what happened to the lady they shot down in that kitchen like that. Who was that they shot where she took the water off the stove and he gunned her down in her kitchen? You can enact a band of silent foot soldiers, and they will do white nationalist, white pathological behavior on the behest of the institution that they represent. So, this is what I want us to pay attention to. I want us to do a deep dive. This is our study moment. We start looking at absent children. We start looking at counties that have high rates of absent and hurt children. We start looking at the dynamics of the racial dynamics, and I do believe we can start. I got you, bro. Giving Claudia something he can use in order for us to start doing federal investigations into counties where they have multiple incidents. Put your two quote symbols up: incidents where black children are harmed and there is little to no investigation, and or they blame the victim for their own demise. So that's my homework, and you can look forward to me being able to bring some information about that soon, because I do believe there is a connection.
Thomas, what you got?
Well, I do want to say um, that Sonya Massey is who she was talking about inside of Illinois, who was shot by the cop. I do agree with Sharon. You know, the Watch app is a good way to be able to have a protection, but I would just say we just need to get more serious on top of the technology piece. Once we start securing the things, I got people that's close to me who haven't downloaded the Watch app. I don't know why. I just don't get it. Everybody's waiting on someone to die, I guess, to need an emergency or for them to be dead. But I would say it's always just like the insurance. It's best to have your protection on you before you run into trouble so you don't need it. And equip your family and your friends and all of those things so you can have a network to be able to discuss these things. Uh, my last point that I do want to say is that it is on us, whatever it is that we have to do, because we all we got. There is nobody coming to save us. Only we can save us. I'm looking at what happened this week inside of that housing area over in Minneapolis and Heritage. These people were ready to sell it off. They were ready. The city was ready to sell it off and cover it up like it never took place. And those are the things that the average person don't know. You know, if we don't have us, if it wasn't for Council Member Warren, Pearl Warren, we would have never known. If she wasn't there fighting, we would have never known. She's only been on the job for 6 months. So with that, we have to make sure that we stay on top of it and check in with each other. And thank you, Lee.
Hey, never a problem. Look, y'all, it's time for us to go. We're up against the clock. Thank you all. Thanks for the comments. They were great this week. We appreciate you listening and watching live. We appreciate those who watch and listen later. As we always say about this time, if no one told you that they love you, we do. And a damn thing you can do about it. Until next week, family. Peace.